Our purposes today are to give you an overview of different ways that you can save money on energy, reduce your carbon footprint, and be environmentally responsible as well. With us today, we have Michael Greis, who you may know more as a school committee member, but he wears another hat as head of Green Needham, an organization that is interested in all kinds of environmental issues, but primarily energy issues. And we have Clayton Schuller here, who is representing Next Step Living, which is one of the companies that do energy audits, and it happens to be his company that we're using for today's show. Let me do my usual disclaimers. First of all, although I am a selectman, this show does not represent the opinion of the Board of Selectmen. This show is basically representing my opinion and the opinion of our guests on the show. And secondly, although we have Clayton here from Next Step Living, there are quite a few other options for energy audits, and we are not recommending any particular company or organization. We simply wanted to give you a feel for what the audits were like and different ways and options that it gives you to save energy. So let's start with Michael. Tell us a little bit about the role of Green Needham in energy saving and why you're here today.
Well, Jerry, we formed Green Needham as a collaborative to bring residents and organizations in Needham together to help make Needham a more sustainable community. And what we found over the first couple of years as we worked on projects and talked to people is people in Needham get it. They understand the issues of climate change, of saving energy, of carbon footprint, but it's very confusing. There's just a lot of information out there. People are very busy. So one of the things we really want to do is to help make things simpler for people, and people look at their own homes. Over about 20% of all the energy in this country is in residentials, and 35 to 40% of all the electricity is used in residences. So people want to know, well, what can I do? And basically, we try to make it a little bit simpler, and to understand that fundamentally you have a building envelope, which is how well you keep your heating and cooling in your building. You have a heating or cooling system and how efficient that is. You use electricity, how well do you use electricity, and you use water. And fundamentally, what you're going to do today is you're going to have someone walk through and help people understand how all those things are being done. Because if you don't understand how well they're being done, you can't measure them, you can't do anything about it. So that's really, we want to make it easier for people to take those steps, understand what they're using and how they can save money and reduce their carbon footprint.
Okay, Clayton, why don't you give us a very brief overview of energy audits?
Well, the focus of an energy audit is really to take an overview of a person's house and see what are the major issues in terms of efficiencies within that home. As Michael talked about, it's really looking at some key areas from the building envelope, efficiencies of systems, electricity usage, and water usage and efficiency, and letting people understand that each one of those plays an overall factor in the efficiency of the home. And by sort of systematically looking at each one of those areas, you can have a direct effect on people's energy costs. And in general, it's a fairly easy system. We try to make it very simple for people to understand and let them understand that there are approaches that they can take that are not extremely costly, but will have a major effect on the overall cost of running their home.
Why don't you tell us, we're going to show a clip in a second. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the person we're going to be seeing?
This is our sort of lead auditor. His name is Dave Boettcher. He's been in the field doing energy efficiency auditing, originally with the Energy Star program here in Massachusetts. He's very knowledgeable in understanding the whole building envelope and systems of the home, and I think he walks you through things very clearly.
Okay, why don't we take a look now at our first segment.
We're Next Step Living, and we're here to do an energy audit on this home with Lisa. The quick overview of how it's going to go is we'll come in, this is called a combustion safety analyzer. We'll head down in the basement. We want to test the health and safety of your heating system to make sure we're not trapping any carbon monoxide. We want to make sure that all of that carbon monoxide is in the flue where it's supposed to be, so it goes outside and it's not leaking out into your house. Our goal today is to spend as much time as we can implementing as much as we can to tighten up the home and to save you as much money as we can today. We'll set up a blower door which will depressurize the house.
Okay.
We'll exaggerate all the leaks. We'll walk around with an infrared camera. We'll be able to prioritize where the biggest leaks are. We're going to spend a bunch of time up in the attic trying to seal up as much as we can, because that's where the pressure difference is the greatest.
Okay.
And then we'll move to the basement, and then we'll also be talking about low flow shower heads, aerators, compact fluorescent light bulbs, all these like low-lying fruit that saves you a lot of money, very easy to install, pretty cheap. So we'll touch on all those as we go throughout the house today.
Tell me about this particular heating system. Is this a more efficient one or one that needs changing?
And so this is a fairly new gas boiler. It's a fairly efficient system. Pipes are wrapped, and there's really no need to switch. This is perfectly satisfactory, and it looks pretty good.
What are the indications that somebody should consider changing their boiler or furnace, whichever they have?
Health and safety is vital. It's your carbon monoxide is a byproduct here, and it's a odorless, tasteless gas that's deadly. So you want to, if there's a major carbon monoxide problem, you can get your boiler tuned up, and get your furnace tuned up, which might solve the problem. Maybe there's a crack in the piping. There's all kinds of different things, but you want to be sure that that's addressed. And if you can't fix the carbon monoxide problem, then clearly you need a new boiler right away. And from an economic standpoint, the efficiency is really what determines if you should replace your boiler or not. So if you have an older boiler that's maybe a really old boiler might be 50% efficient, 45, 60, something like that. That's a pretty inefficient system. And with a new upgraded boiler, you can achieve efficiencies of 90%, 95%, depending on the system. And there are all kinds of rebates available for those installations. And then you basically cut down your heating bill by 30, 40%, whatever the increase in efficiency is, you're using that much less fuel. So if you have a 85% boiler, there's not going to be tremendous savings going up to a 95% boiler. But going from a 50% boiler or 60% boiler up to a 95% boiler, it is an expensive install. It's a couple $10,000, $8,000, $6,000, $12,000, somewhere in that range, dollars, but there will be significant payback annually.
One of the things that I need to know more about, and I wanted to ask Clayton about it, is the difference between a boiler, a furnace, and a burner. What do all those terms mean?
Well, a boiler is a system that's used to obviously boil water. So those systems are used in forced hot water systems. A lot of baseboard heat is forced hot water, or steam systems, which we certainly see a lot here in Needham, to heat the old time radiators, the cast iron radiators. Furnaces are used to heat hot air. So forced hot air systems are really what a furnace is used for. The burner itself is the motor that actually creates the flame to activate the boiling, in a boiler, the boiler system.
So all of those can be more efficient no matter which you have.
They are, and again, as Dave mentioned in the video, there's certain trigger points to consider when to upgrade to a more efficient system. One thing that he did mention here and talked significantly about was carbon monoxide, which is definitely an issue. In general, when you get into levels of 25 parts per million, you need to look at getting your system tuned, not replaced, but tuned. When you start talking about efficiency levels, as he discussed there, again, when you start getting into the 60, 50% range, it's time to consider looking at a new system.